Hello and welcome as we head into the 19th day of July 2017. My name is Derek and welcome. Let's go over an in-depth analysis on the silver market. Go over a few different key points, but look at situation analysis as well. Situation being price action has gotten above the first time, it's gotten above the average, the 18 average of highs after it was below it. So it went from below it into the correctionary phase and above it. When's the last times it has happened? Well, it was below it in here, but yeah, technically pierced above it, but this doesn't really count. That's not much of a move. It's a hit to the 18 average of highs and it fell lower. It was below it here, and then it pierced above this point, had a decent retracement, but a good follow-through gain. From this down point, got above it in here, and then it had a decent gain. From this point in here, same thing, but even from this point in here, it got above it, it had the failed rally. But generally speaking, situation, you were recently oversold and you are currently in this position. That on the short term or the next few periods does look like a bullish statement from that point. But let's go over some other interesting key points, which I'm going to go over again. The flash crash about a week and plus back, or into July. A move which occurred at around 7 p.m. New York time, which represents about 7 in the morning in China, although time is a little different in relevancy in China. It's also the time in which Russia is opening up their markets. And well, it's a time when there isn't that much for bids in there, because a lot of traders, when they leave for the day, will remove their buy and sell orders. And well, that means if you want to buy it up, it's going to cost you more. And if you want to sell it off, it's going to cost you more as well, which is what they did. They sold it off. And it's not any day regular people that can do it. The amount of fiat currency needed could only be those of the biggest game players. And who are the ones we know that have been trying to play this game this way for quite some time? And well, it's who's ever those in control. It's them. So anyway, throwing that part aside, now we're already 3 minutes in. We've only went over a few different topics, but it's made this price move up towards this key point, and it's going to be about establishing a higher low from now this last breakout point, because the band was declining. Having it go flat, which means trading within the 18 average band, is enough just for it to maintain its sideways direction. So that would be in the area of about 1620 and about 1575. If it can stay within that range, it would be in that sideways mover. But hey, since it's up, just because it's barely up doesn't mean it can't stop going higher. In fact, that's what these markets have been doing. Straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. Is this the time for the straight up? It sure as heck could be. We'll definitely be talking about other key levels of resistance, like the 1680 handle. Normally, I would like to see it correct through time within this band, but it's been very choppy with, of course, the up and down straight moves. Let's move it to a weekly time frame. And within this more longer term time frame, it's showing resistance, or it's at that stage for such. Within now, it's at this previous support level, 18 average of lows. After its big down week before, it came through with a very small up week in relevance to its previous move and moves. And so far, 2 days out of the 5 so far has given it close to the amount of last week's rally and what you would expect on a bullish, bearish level for where it would come to, because it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Of course, it's going to do that. But in a bear market, it's going to go up and down, but it's going to go up to probably a point like this and then keep going lower. In a bull market, it's either going to keep going up further or it's going to find some sort of higher low and then continue progressions in towards that of what a bull market should be doing. Now, this has been a very choppy index or code, or the stock price, whatever you want to call it. I hate to say it's a price of the actual metal, but it's price that pays. That's only price paying, and that's what you buy and sell it for, plus, of course, the premiums on top. But with that being stated, the movements after this big gain, the key was for it to have a bit of correction after this. That's fine, but look at the length that it has done. It has stayed, albeit barely, above this high. Its rally was a little not so great, and that to me defines a lot of the choppy movement. And I was stating a while back, but not that long, somewhere back in here, that I expect that this market to have a substantial, significant bull market coming soon. I didn't want to say it was the bottom, and this is the exact reason why, because I felt as we moved into this year that buyers would come into play as the economic indicators would look towards it being the time. What being the indicators? Well, let's look next at the monthly chart. And the two most recent moves in which occurred was the one in the early 2000s up to 2008, which had a pattern of higher highs, higher lows, but going from lows of around $4 up to about 20. And then it had its very short but decent size price correction, going from $8.50 up to a little south of 50, or that of about 6 or so times higher, but a steady up move. And then before that, it was a steady up move. So that's basically what I would be considering to be coming, is a steady up move again. We have a possibility where this does show the failed breakdown, fast move higher, because overall, as far as this 18 average is describing the story, it's flat. It's had a little bit of an uprise, but considering the length of its down move, you can't give it that much of a bullish credit. However, the movement before this was a very decent size rally, where this is most certainly a higher low price correction from not only the most ultimate lows down in here, but even the 2008. But when this thing breaks its trend after going up, down, and a little bit of sideways, and thus starts its next upwind, which I do think will be happening soon, would be what I'm stating is, I think, coming into play. Now, a lot of this does reflect within the 20 trillion debt, and how a lot of the other economic indicators have been pointed out and talked about within other sites that I have been talking about, that, you know what, it really wouldn't surprise me if, of course, the start of the bull market were to happen. In fact, a lot of it's even the web bots stating not only is it to be happening, but these sick level prices are like insanely soon, which I can't comprehend and I don't think is going to happen. Who knows? Because when I talk long term within the ordeal of silver, it doesn't matter what happens from here on in. It's all going to be the same in this price area when price action comes back. And that is within this time frame, the bull market doesn't get to great proportions until or start those proportions until you're breaking this level in here. So you're in the 25 or so area. The first longer term resistance is going to come in at 26. That was the multiple hit bottom in at that point. And now on the break, because we've established this point here coinciding the 20 handle, but more closer to 20 and change, would become future support on the later on mode. But when you're back in this range, the resumption of people talking about silver will come into decent sized play. And this will become who knows what's going to happen at another, which will be the third $50 test, with the first one being in 1980. In 1980, it takes over 30 years to come back. And if it can do it again in under 10 or 11 years, then there's a decent chance you might get very little to no resistance. But I realize if it does happen on the none, that means the panic for people wanting to get into silver, the stuff on the streets of the real economic fiat monetary system, and probably such turmoil at that time, that because I talk about failed move, fast moves, well, fundamentals will say something in the area because of such. Yeah, that's why it rose to, well, what's the number going to be? 200, 180, 300? So yeah, maybe that's how that would make sense. But do remember in the future that when this level gets tested, whether it takes 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades, that when it gets tested, it's a massive level, and if it breaks it fast, the sky is the limit for how monstrous these moves can happen, because when the final moves come in, man, that can be interesting. But the first ones is the break of resistance. You have a decent size green candles, decent size. These probably be nothing, the ones that I'm showing you, to what could come into play in those types of situations. So now let's even talk about mathematics as far as, okay, what type of payout would I want to have on a situation where things explode till that? And, well, if you're looking for payouts long-term even, and that's the only way you can think about this one, of many hundreds of dollars, then you're talking about getting 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 40 to 1, a 40x gain from where you stand. So at long term, if you were right 1 in 10, 1 in 15 times, that's profitable enough. Of course, that's not exactly how the game is to be leading out. A lot of it is in that protectionary stages against these currencies, and you always want to be buying when the price is cheaper. Sort of like when you were buying maybe down in here. Price is cheaper, you're buying in here. Difference. Now when you buy in here, you think, oh my goodness, it's just bad to buy at the top, and we had to wait a bit until it got higher again. And I think the same is going to be true again. Well, definitely will be if those prices go to those marks. That if you buy here, you'll wait all this time, when a lot of people have been just buying all over the place because they were buying when it was depressed in here. They bought on the way up, and then it went down and they bought. Then they bought again. It went down, they bought. And for me, it was normal. I bought in here, and I bought somewhere in here. I bought like in here. And now with Bitcoin, I've been buying a bunch of different other places. I'll be doing that again, because anything in these lower prices long term, the risk reward potential for gains is really, really high. And in risk stage, yes, there can be further declines, but when you're holding the physical commodity, the larger risk isn't necessarily in price, but in your personal possession and making sure it is safe from theft and situations of that nature. because you're relatively safe, in my opinion, as far as price is concerned, especially with how it seems that the cost of getting it. And when you watch documentaries on how they actually make silver, very, very beautiful. Anyway, let's continue on. It's 15 minutes. I can definitely do another 5 or so. And let's move on to the Canadian dollar chart next. And you know what? Canada's been known as America's hat, I guess, based on its geographical look, even though the size of Canada is larger than the continental United States. But anyway, this is a daily chart that has been making very nice up patterns every single time it has broken correctionary phases. It stated here, yeah, I want to go bullish. I know I didn't make a higher high, but it's a good move. And, well, obviously it did go bullish. But there's this correctionary move, beautiful up move. Correctionary phase, monstrous up move. And its correctionary move was within such. It had a day or a couple days of red days and then back up with amazing green candles. And then it lifted up from the band and huge green candle up, consolidation up day, good green candle up, price correction, getting it all back here. This thing is really, really taking off. And, well, this resistance has been taken out. This resistance has been taken out. Everything on this time frame has been. Let's just speed this up to the monthly chart. And it is on its 3rd up month in a row. It's also the 2nd attempt for it to end the bear market that started in around 2012. Because since this thing rolled over, it never got above it never even touched the 18 average of highs until here. So its first decent rally attempt from this entire decline from about $1.04 all the way to 68 cents. It took several amount of time and duration, but it had its move, and for well over a year, it corrected it through time sideways within the 18 average band. The previous month of June, it came up to the upper end of the resistance, but it hasn't been selling off. It's been going up further, thus testing this area. This can be a long-weighted play-out pattern where maybe it spends another 6 or 8 more months where it resists 80 cents and it supports maybe around 77. Definitely another one of the possibilities, but it is showing to me that a reversal and trend, thus the 18 average in an up move and price action trading primarily above it, would be the next set of circumstances. And historically speaking, and even going before this chart, this trend has been relatively consistent. That when this is going up, so do the precious metals. And when did silver bottom? Around 2002, 2003, or roughly around here. Yeah. And silver topped in March of 2008, which was a little after, sometime around here. So this was a little earlier. The bottom, right in here. That was at 2008. Now in 2008, that's when silver went to like 8.5. That's when, well, the currency went down here. That's when gold hit its bottom. And that's when the stock market hit a bottom at that time of 8,000. But a few months later, in March of 2009, stock markets and other things went another leg lower, where silver went from like it went to a low of like $10 or so. But with that being stated, from that 2008, early 2009, really low prices on everything, that's when silver went from 8.5 up to 50, and it topped in April of 2011, which was when this topped. how do you do, basically? And silver's decline has been non-stop since that point. Therefore, this has been going non-stop since that point as well. So if this is going to have a significant run of higher highs and higher lows, then does it make sense that gold and silver are going to follow in its same direction? This gives me questions to when will the price of silver be worth the same in Canada, or what will the price of silver be worth when the price action gets here to par? That's just a thing I'll think of. I'm not going to give you an answer, but it's something I think of. One of the ones I really do think of, as Webbot has stated for years, gold to silver ratio 1-to-1. And when I think about that number, at what point would they match, and how does it make sense for even something like that to exist? Something amazing / dramatically bad on gold would have to occur. And at what price projection could that even be possible? Like, think of it this way. If silver is going to be making some outrageously big moves, saying go from like 20 to like 500, what's gold going to do? It should surely be at 5,000 by then. So then at what point would it reach at a 1-to-1 ratio? It could not possibly be 8,000. And maybe the 1-to-1 is going to be nothing more than a pipe dream. But to me, the situation of a fiat currency explosion on the global level occurring this decade or the next, that does not seem like a pipe dream at all. In fact, it seems like a pipe dream that this thing could even survive a large duration of time, like it has done so well during these 10s. And then as we enter the 20s and 30s, that would be the pipe dream that it could even continue to do such. But is it a pipe dream to think that as those situations occur and maybe the price of silver to gold ratio hits a 10-to-1 peak or a ratio point, or 15-to-1, maybe the price of silver can even reach 400 or 500, that it still works out to be a positive investment for oneself? These are definitely questions I think is best to ask yourself as you make your own decisions based on what is best for you and the people that surround yourself. But these are just some of the things that I like to think about. And have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.